Thank you, Representative Hayes. Representative Rosalyn Henderson Myers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. I attended the last meeting virtually and listened to all 7 hours of the testimony. And you know, it's a particular concern to me that we as politicians are using our own judgment to determine the reproductive rights of women. We have seen, we've felt, and we've heard about the repercussions of abortion bans in just 3 weeks since Roe versus Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court. And I have to tell you that there's much concern about the mothers, there's much concern about the families, there's much concern about the impact that it will have financially on our state, and there is much concern about the medical community. And I have 3 members of my immediate family that are in the medical profession. And so I'm concerned about them and what they will have to go through and the struggles that they will have in trying to give proper medical care. Doctors in our state are struggling already to interpret the 6-week ban and properly care for their patients. And this is before this document, the document we have before us today, which bans all abortions without exception. I've heard from doctors whose medical malpractice insurance has actually doubled and tripled just since this 6-week abortion ban became effective. So I ask you, if doctors are not able to treat their patients until their death is immediate, they leave themselves vulnerable to lawsuits. If doctors can go to jail and lose their medical license for providing care and can be sued for not providing care, just how do we advise doctors with this vague language that we have? Since I got this document, I've shared it with a few doctors, but needless to say, we have had very little time for proper review and discussion. This is not a one and done kind of issue that we have in our state. This is something that needs to be vetted, needs to be taken time to discuss and to study. And so, with the doctors who I have heard from, here are the concerns that they've voiced to me. Now, I've heard some discussion about exceptions that this proposed bill has, but I can tell you that doctors universally told me that it is not undisputed that every human life begins at conception. If we're calling a fertilized egg a person, it will make the management of ectopic pregnancies difficult for doctors. And even if this bill states it's not your intention to punish doctors for aborting an ectopic pregnancy, doctors are still placing their freedom and their livelihoods at risk every time they provide treatment for this condition. And for the other exception, that one of the exceptions that you're talking about, IVF, if a fertilized egg is a person, IVF doctors tell me they will not be able to practice medicine as they do now. The process of IVF includes fertilizing an egg in a petri dish in a laboratory. If one, just think about this, if one of these fertilized eggs is destroyed before implantation, can that doctor be charged with murder? Can the doctor be sued by the uncle of the sperm donor? Think about that. This bill allows an abortion for a pregnant woman who is about to die, or if she's about to suffer a permanent and irreversible damage to a major bodily function. But There is no shortage of medical conditions for which pregnancy is dangerous. I've talked to women who were diagnosed with cancer soon after learning that they were pregnant. They could not get chemotherapy. They were denied while they were pregnant. They had to determine if they were willing to risk their lives for the remainder of their pregnancy while cancer remained untreated. They frequently already had one or more children, and that was their biggest concern, their children. They didn't want to orphan their existing children. But if they can die before childbirth without cancer treatment, women are being denied an abortion, plain and simple. Now, there are many conditions with onset after pregnancy and pre-existing conditions that can make pregnancy very dangerous for many women. And this bill lists a few of those conditions. But it is not nearly enough. Think about all of the situations. We are not doctors up here. We are politicians. While we say it's not all inclusive, why do we list this in the bill, any exceptions at all, if we're not including all of them? We say these decisions are up to the doctor, so why list a few conditions? This seems to confuse people even more and to confuse our doctors even more. As you've already heard, more women die in South Carolina during pregnancy and childbirth than in 42 other states. Forcing them to continue pregnancies against their will can only result in more deaths for pregnant women. And then doctors want to know at what point in gestation they must use extraordinary measures to save a fetus while providing an abortion to a woman to save her life. Must they place a 15-week fetus on a respirator and a feeding tube, knowing that a 15-week fetus can never survive? Think about that. As absurd as it seems, in just 22 days that the 6-week ban has been in effect, doctors currently now are sending women home who are bleeding and the fetus dying because they are not yet near death. They can't provide the abortion these women need now so as to preserve their reproductive health so that they may try to get pregnant again. Instead, these women have to go home and wait until they face more serious health risk, perhaps becoming even septic and ultimately needing a hysterectomy. I submit to you that the emergency medical exception is unworkable. Women are suffering now. Doctors are struggling to care for their patients now, as I speak. Because legislators decide the budgets for many of their hospitals, some doctors are afraid to speak up for fear that their hospitals and their medical schools will be cut, that the funding will be cut. This creates a chilling effect on outside influence over sound medical care and treatment. In this bill, contraception is defined as a device or medicine that prevents conception. Some birth control methods do work in that way by preventing ovulation. But some birth control methods allow ovulation but would prevent a fertilized egg from implanting in the uterus. This includes IUDs and some birth control pills. But listen, it seems that we're going to ban IUDs and birth control pills based upon the way they work. Will we inspect people for IUDs and force their removal? I mean, how far are we going to go? We've heard from our medical universities that we will not be able to train their OBGYN students in all aspects of reproductive care. The procedure used to complete a miscarriage is the same procedure used for an abortion. How? Tell me how. How do medical schools train their students to provide abortion procedures if abortion is banned? Because abortion is allowed to save a woman's life. Doctors need to know how to perform an abortion, but they can't get that training if this bill passes. They need to know how to provide miscarriage care. They need to know how to end an ectopic pregnancy. All of this requires hands-on medical training that they now will be banned from providing. We already have 12 counties with no OBGYN in this county, in the county. Many more have just one OBGYN for the entire county. Now, if we have 12 counties with no OBGYN, and we have 46 counties in the state of South Carolina, what do we say about medical treatment? We already have a shortage. We have a huge shortage of these specialty doctors. If we can no longer train medical students, they won't come here for medical school, and they will not stay. We've already heard from some students who are looking for assignments outside our state because of how South Carolina will tie their hands in caring for their patients. I've talked to numerous doctors who are facing real life situations already. They have to decide whether they want to go to jail or be sued if they care for their patients. This is an incredibly impossible position, impossible, that we're putting on our doctors and the women of our state, and they deserve better. And let me make myself clear. Let me make myself loud and clear as I end. Politicians need to stay out of the medical room. Again, I repeat, politicians need to stay out of the medical room.